So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning because we're the piggy bank. We're the one that all these countries, including the European Union, wants to rob and takes advantage of. European Union, $200 billion. China, more than $500 billion. Sorry, I was put here by people. I was put here by people to do a great job. And that's what I'm doing. And nobody's done a job like I've done. Now, would China rather wait for a little more than a year and try and get sleepy Joe Biden to negotiate with instead of President Trump? Maybe, but I don't think so. You know why? They're losing too many jobs too fast. They had the worst year in 27 years, but I think it was actually 52 or 54 years. It's the worst year they've had in a half a century, and that's because of me.
New tonight, police say that 3 different Safeways in 3 different cities in western Washington all received a large shipment of cocaine buried in a box of produce.
King 5's Callie Greenberg has been tracking the story. She's live tonight in Bellingham, where one of those shipments was delivered. Callie.
Well, Mark and Joyce, it was at this Safeway in Bellingham, right here. Bellingham police tell us that employees were unpacking a box of bananas. In the bottom, they found about 50 pounds of cocaine. And get this, they weren't the only one. Take a look at this picture. This picture comes from the King County Sheriff's Office. Now, this was discovered by employees at a Safeway in Woodinville. Right there in that photo, you're looking at another 50 pounds of cocaine. The Sheriff's Office said that equals about $550,000 worth of drugs. Doubled with the other 50 pounds, you're looking at roughly $1 million worth of drugs found inside a box of bananas.
A couple has incredibly survived a small plane crash off California. And they didn't just live to tell the tale, they videoed the entire thing. The pilot managing to save his phone from the cockpit as the aircraft sank.
Drama at sea. Every plot twist captured on camera.
Starting to get a little cold out here.
This is the moment the plane ditches into the Pacific. Pilot David Lesh and his passenger Kayla forced onto the aircraft's wing. And then this.
There she goes.
It was meant to be a joyride. David setting out over the California coast in his new Beechcraft Bonanza.
Doing a photo mission to take photos of the new airplane.
Their day taking a dangerous turn. Fellow pilot Owen Leipelt, who was flying in another aircraft, watching on and filming as his mate's plane lost altitude, skimming the sea surface, not knowing if his friends were still alive.
Two news anchors in Georgia have quit live on air, citing looming government censorship. Diana Georgieva and Mikhail Sisiashvili resigned as hosts on Rostavi 2. A slew of other journalists and executives have also left the station in recent weeks following a takeover by a pro-Russian businessman. Well, joining us now live from Tbilisi is Margarita Akhvlidiani, the editor of the website Jam News. First of all, in terms of the takeover of Rostavi 2, what organization and particularly who is behind this takeover?
Probably the easiest answer would be it's the government itself, or maybe personally Bidzina Ivanishvili, though it never was announced like it seized by the government. But the person who got the channel back, Kibar Khalvashi, is a person closely related to the current government and to personally Bidzina Ivanishvili, the main person in the country, the leader of the ruling party.
Well, new tonight, Boeing is losing a $1.5 billion Pentagon contract, but the military says it's not Boeing's fault.
The contract was for a redesigned weapons system to shoot down missiles aimed at the United States. It's called the Redesigned Kill Vehicle Program. or RKV. The department says on defense that they found classified issues with the design. They were not fixable, so they decided to end the contract. Boeing issued a statement saying it supports the Pentagon's decision, and the AP reports the military had already spent more than $1 billion on the RKV program when it decided to shut things down. The United States already has a defense system that is supposed to be able to shoot down a missile midair. It's been tested, notably during the tension with North Korea a couple of years ago. But with missiles getting faster, the military is now looking for an even more advanced program.
Despite continued calls on North Korea to come to the negotiating table, North Korea is not interested in talks. And such a stance comes as the regime slammed Seoul and Washington for killing the dialogue atmosphere.
North Korea was quick to respond to the arrival of the additional F-35A stealth fighter jets in South Korea on Wednesday. On Thursday, Pyongyang's foreign ministry released a statement criticizing Seoul's, quote, arms reinforcement. It stressed that South Korea, despite the North's continued warnings, is now bringing in F-35A stealth fighter jets from the U.S. right after their joint military exercise ended. The Seoul-Washington joint military exercise, combined command post training, ended on Tuesday, and 2 F-35A stealth fighter jets arrived in South Korea on Wednesday. The North said the moves were, quote, increasing military hostilities from South Korea and the U.S., which kills the momentum for dialogue and pushes the North to look for ways to deter the threat.
Britain's reserves of shale gas could be 6 times less than originally forecast by ministers and fracking companies. That's according to the latest research carried out by the University of Nottingham.
The research has shown that the total gas we have in place in the UK is significantly lower than first thought. Even assuming a low recovery of economic reserves, this will still serve the UK for a number of years. To firm up our answer, we need to open up the investigation to a much wider selection of shales in the UK.
The research contradicts a study back in 2013 which suggested there could be 60 years worth of shale gas. It comes after fracking company Quadrilla resumed operations in Lancashire last week. The process involves pumping high-pressure liquid deep underground, extracting gas from rock formations by cracking them. Environmentalists say that poses a major risk to the environment and human health.
The fires raging in the Amazon rainforest. Scientists warn at a record pace, and this could be dire, they say, when it comes to climate change. And tonight, Brazil's president and who he's blaming.
Tonight, the Amazon rainforest, often called the planet's lungs, is struggling to breathe. Record fires causing massive devastation, nearly 73,000 detected by researchers so far this year, an 83% increase from 2018. The fires visible even from space, those white patches, not clouds, but smoke. Powerful winds carrying it nearly 1,700 miles away to Sao Paulo. These images from Monday afternoon, drivers forced to use their headlights in the darkness. The major concern, how the wildfires could accelerate climate change. The Amazon rainforest produces 20% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere, a vital defense against global warming.
New this morning, a story that can serve as a warning to cannabis users who may be traveling to the United States. A Canadian woman faces a possible lifetime ban from that country after bringing CBD oil over the border. As John Paul Tasker tells us, the woman thought the cannabis-derived pain reliever was allowed because it's legal in the state where she was going.
All along the world's longest border, there are signs warning travelers not to bring cannabis across the border. That's because cannabis is still strictly illegal in the United States. In fact, it's still on par with heroin, so it's prohibited at all border crossings. And one Canadian woman found out this past weekend that it's not just cannabis buds, it's not just cannabis leaves, it's not just cannabis joints that will find you on the wrong side of the law, and that's because she was carrying CBD oil, something that she uses to treat pain associated with scoliosis. It's the non-psychoactive component of the cannabis plant that many people use to deal with pain, to deal with anxiety, to deal with sleeping disorders.
We think of it as pure, but according to the World Health Organization, the water we drink comes with an added extra, tiny, often microscopic fragments of plastic, and no one knows whether our health is at risk.
Here we can just about see some very small specks, and we suspect that those are the microplastics.
Scientists at Cranfield University have studied drinking water in Britain and helped write the WHO report. While tap water is believed to contain between 0 and 10 plastic particles in every litre, bottled water can contain hundreds.
Bottled water is a little bit different because we're talking about containing water within a plastic container with a plastic cap. And there has been a number of studies that have looked at microplastics in bottled water, and it does seem to be that there are higher levels of microplastics in bottled water when we compare that to the limited number of studies that there are on tap water.